We like to believe we live in a world where everything is normal. Horror movies are just movies. Urban legends are just legends. But there seems to be something underground in the wilds of California that might have you rethinking the way you see the world altogether. This story, titled "The Things in the Ground," from a user by the name of Riveting33, shows us that true horror is real, and it's simply waiting deep under your feet, waiting for the right moment. I've been listening to your podcast for a few years now. I started during the lockdowns when I was working from home and needed something to fill the quiet. I burned through your whole back catalog in maybe 3 months, then started over from the beginning. I'm not sure what that says about me, but I heard your Alaskan tree god episode last week. Good stuff, by the way, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. Not that I thought it was a lie or crazy, but the opposite. I believed every word of it, and that's what's been keeping me up. You see, I saw something too, back in 2012 when I was 17. Me and 4 friends out in the desert in Southern California. We were doing things we weren't supposed to be doing in places we weren't supposed to be. And something came up out of the ground and tried to kill us. Now, whatever it was, it definitely wasn't like the Alaskan tree god thing, but it was the same level of wrongness, that feeling of looking at something that should not exist. So I figured maybe it was time to write this down, because who knows, maybe someone else will find this familiar and write their own story, and maybe we aren't the only ones who have encountered it. The name's Corey. I'm 28 now. I work as an electrician, but when I was 17, I saw something that I still can't explain. Here is what happened. During the summer of 2012, I was between junior and senior years, and I was absolutely convinced I would live forever. My best friend since 6th grade was a kid named Tyler Reese, and together we discovered the greatest hobby in the world: illegal night riding. I should explain what that means. Tyler's family had money. Technically not rich, but very comfortable. And for his 16th birthday, they bought him a Yamaha dirt bike. A beautiful machine, way nicer than anything I could afford. I had a beat-up Honda that I'd bought with 2 summers of lawn mowing money. And our friends Danny and Owen had these old ATVs they'd picked up secondhand. Clunkers, but they ran. The legal places to ride were boring. Designated trails with really low speed limits. Park rangers that would hassle you for everything you did. So we started to explore. Tyler would spend hours on Google Earth looking for spots, like dry lake beds or abandoned quarries. Some stretches of BLM land where nobody ever went. We'd load up his truck after dark, drive out to wherever he'd found, and ride until 2 or 3 in the morning. Was it illegal? Mostly, yeah. Trespassing, riding without permits, noise violations, probably a dozen other things we didn't even know about. Did we care? Not even a little. We were 17. We were invincible. And there's nothing like flying across the desert at night with the stars stretched out above you, your headlight cutting through the black in front of you, and the cold air hitting your face. It's the closest thing to freedom I've ever felt. There were 5 of us that night. Me and Tyler on our dirt bikes, Danny and Owen on the ATVs, and Tyler's girlfriend, Keely, who'd ride on the back of Tyler's bike, and somehow never complained about the dust or the cold or the hours of sitting on an uncomfortable seat. She was impressive. Keely really was something else. Most girls I knew back then would have wanted nothing to do with our stupid desert adventures. But Keely was different. She was practical and tough and didn't scare easy. She'd grown up on a ranch outside of Barstow and had probably seen more harsh country by the time she was 12 than most people do in their whole lives. Tyler was lucky to have her. We all knew it, including him. Danny was the type of guy who could not shut up if his life depended on it. The guy just couldn't help himself. It was just how he processed his thoughts. Out loud. Owen was an anxiety-ridden guy, always waiting for the worst things to happen. We gave him a hard time about it, the way friends do, but he was solid still, reliable. When things got serious, Owen was the guy you wanted watching your back, even if his confidence was lacking. Then there was me. I'm not sure how to describe myself. I was just a normal kid, I guess, nothing special. I liked riding and I liked my friends, and I loved the way the desert felt at night. That's about all I can say about me. The night I'm talking about was a Friday in late July. It was hot as heck during the day. Maybe 115, even 120 in the sun, but once the sun went down, it cooled off fast. By 9 o'clock, it was almost pleasant. By midnight, it'd be downright cold. That's the desert for you. Tyler had found a new spot, a dry lake bed about 40 minutes outside of town, surrounded by these low, rocky hills. He'd seen it on these satellite images and got all excited. It was flat, open, no obstacles, no trails, no one around for miles. Perfect. We loaded up around 8. 2 dirt bikes in the bed of Tyler's truck, the ATVs on a trailer behind, a cooler full of water and energy drinks, and of course helmets, goggles, gloves. We had done this enough times we had the routine down. The drive out was the usual mix of music and bullcrap. Danny had the aux cord and kept playing this terrible dubstep that nobody but him liked. Owen was quiet in the back seat, staring out the window. Keely was up front with Tyler, her feet on the dashboard, giving him directions even though he already knew where he was going. I remember feeling good, happy, being young, having friends, doing something you love. I didn't know it at the time, but that was probably the last night I would ever feel that way. Completely carefree, unaware that the world had things in it that could change you. We got to the lake bed around 9:30. We unloaded the bikes, the ATVs, and we geared up. The sun had been down for about an hour, and the sky was that deep purple color it gets before full dark. The stars were just starting to come out, and they looked great out here. "All right," Tyler said, pulling on his gloves. "Same rules as always. Stay in sight of each other. If you break down, kill your engine and wait, someone will come back for you. And if you see headlights that aren't ours, scatter and meet back at the truck." "Yes, Mom," Danny said. "I'm serious. I don't want to have to explain to someone's parents why their kid got arrested for trespassing on federal land." "Has that ever actually happened?" Keely asked. "No, and I want to keep it that way." We started riding. God, it was beautiful out there. The lake bed was perfectly flat, better than we had hoped, full of hard-packed dirt that was almost like pavement. You could open up the throttle and just go. Nothing in your way, nothing to worry about. The hills rose up around us like the walls of an arena, black shapes against stars. The only sounds were our engines and the wind. We raced each other across the lake bed, pulling stupid stunts, seeing who could get the most air off the little ridges and bumps. Danny almost wiped out, trying to do a donut, and ended up spinning in circles for about 30 seconds while we laughed at him. Owen, despite being the nervous one, turned out to be the best at wheelies. He could hold one for 100 yards without breaking a sweat. At around 10:30, I stopped to adjust my goggles. The strap had been digging into the back of my head, and I needed to loosen it. I killed my engine and sat there for a minute, enjoying the silence. And it was at that moment I felt something. The ground was vibrating. I was like, is this just me? Maybe some residual buzz from the bike, my body still humming from the ride? But it wasn't. There was something beneath me, something in the ground itself. There was a low, rhythmic thrumming, vibrating my feet, going up my legs and into my chest. I looked around. The others were still riding, their headlights sweeping across the lake bed. They hadn't noticed anything. Then Danny killed his engine. He'd stopped maybe 50 yards away to take a leak, and I saw him freeze, saw him look down at the ground. "Hey!" he shouted. "Do you guys feel that?" One by one, the others stopped. Tyler, then Keely, then Owen. The engines died, the headlights pointed in different directions, And in the sudden quiet, we could all feel it. Something was moving beneath us. "What the heck is that?" Owen asked, his voice higher than usual. "Underground base," Tyler said. "A military installation. They do tests out here all the time." "That's not a test," Keeley said. "That's something moving." She was right. It wasn't a constant vibration. There was a rhythm to it, like pulsing or footsteps, like something walking or crawling or burrowing. "Maybe it's an earthquake," Danny offered. "A little one, a tremor." "Tremors don't move," I said. Everyone looked at me. "I mean, it's moving, isn't it? Can you feel it getting closer?" We all went quiet and listened with our bodies. And yeah, whatever was making that vibration, it was definitely getting closer. The pulses were coming faster and stronger, coming towards us from somewhere to the west. "Get back on the bikes," Tyler said. "Now." We listened. I'd never heard Tyler sound like that before. Not scared, but urgent, and he didn't have time for discussion. We started our engines and the sound drowned out the vibration. And for a second I thought maybe we'd imagined the whole thing. But then, Keeley screamed. I whipped my head around and saw her pointing at something off to our left. At first I didn't understand what I was seeing. The ground was moving, but not like an earthquake. There was a ridge forming in the dirt, a raised line of displaced earth, and it was traveling across the lake bed, like some sort of wave. It was fast, way too fast, and it was heading straight for Danny. "Danny, move!" Danny saw it then. His eyes went wide and he gunned his ATV, veering hard to the right. The ridge changed direction. It actually started to follow him. I watched, petrified, as Danny pushed his ATV as fast as it would go. But the ridge of earth closed the distance fast. 20 yards, 10 yards, 5. And then it stopped. Just stopped. That wave froze in place maybe 10 feet from Danny's ATV. The vibration ceased and everything went still. For about 3 seconds, nobody moved and nobody breathed. And then, the ground collapsed. It didn't happen where Danny was. It happened where the ridge had stopped. A section of earth about 6 feet wide just fell in on itself, like a trap door opening, like there'd been nothing underneath it. Dirt and rocks tumbled into shadows, and I heard this sound, this wet, grinding sound, like something retreating. I saw it, just for a second, in the shadows of that hole, something pale, something that moved in a way that made my stomach twist up in these knots. It was pulling back, withdrawing into the earth. And then it was gone. "What the heck?" Danny whispered, then shouted, "What the heck was that?" "We're leaving," Tyler said. "We should go now. Everybody move." We turned our bikes toward where we'd left Tyler's truck and started to ride, fast, dangerously. We'd made it maybe a quarter mile when Owen's ATV died. The thing just stopped. The engine cut out and the lights went dark. We watched it coast to a halt. Owen was still on it, frantically trying to restart it, pressing the start button over and over. "Owen!" I screamed. "Just leave it! Leave it there!" He looked up at me, and then he looked down. The ground beneath his wheels was starting to vibrate. I'm not sure how he got off the ATV that fast. 1 second he was sitting there, the next he was running full speed toward Danny's ATV, with every gram of muscle in his body. Danny reached out and grabbed him by the arm, hauling him onto the back. And then we were all moving again. But behind us, I heard the ground open up. I looked back and saw Owen's ATV drop into the earth. It just disappeared, swallowed whole, the hole closing up behind it like some sort of mouth. and in the dust and the darkness, just for a second, I saw something pale rise up out of it. Something with a lot of segments. Something completely wrong. Then it was gone, pulled back into the ground, and we were racing across the lake bed with no idea where we were going. Just away. Out of there as fast as we could. Away from the thing that seemed to be hunting us. We rode blind for a long time. I don't mean that literally. We had our headlights, but we weren't navigating anymore. We were just fleeing, pointing our bikes away from where we'd been and opening the throttle, praying that whatever was beneath us could not keep up. It wasn't until Tyler finally slowed down and signaled for us to stop that I realized we had no idea where we were. The lake bed all looked the same, flat and featureless, the hills rising up in every direction, the sense of freedom gone, replaced by a sense of imprisonment. We'd come in from the southeast, parking the truck near a gap in the hills that Tyler had marked on his phone. But in the chaos of our escape, we'd gotten completely turned around. I couldn't tell which direction was which. The stars weren't helping. I'd never learned to navigate by the stars. And even if I had, I was too panicked to think clearly. "Where's the truck?" Danny asked. He was breathing hard, and Owen was still clinging to his back, arms wrapped around Danny's waist. "I don't know," Tyler said. "What do you mean you don't know?" "I mean I don't know, Danny. I was a little busy trying not to get swallowed by the freaking ground." Okay. Danny ran a hand through his hair. "Phones. Yeah, we check our phones. GPS." We all checked our pockets. I watched Danny's face fall as he pulled his out and tried to turn it on. "Of course it's dead," he said. "Forgot to charge it." Keely checked hers, pressed the button. Nothing. "Sorry. It was already at like 40% when we left, and I used it for the drive." Tyler's screen lit up. "Mine's good. 12%, but I've got no signal." Owen was the last to check. His hands were a trembling mess. He nearly dropped the phone twice. 34%, he said. "But no signal here either." "We need to get somewhere higher," Tyler said. "Those hills. We get up on those ridges, maybe we can get a bar, figure out where we are." Nobody had a better idea, so we started to move again, slower this time, heading toward the nearest hill. Our engines seemed impossibly loud now, and every few seconds my whole body would tense up as I mistook every new vibration as the ground possibly opening up beneath me. But it did vibrate, I think, twice during that ride. It was distant, far off to our left somewhere, and it wasn't coming any closer. Not yet. Whatever was down there, it seemed to be circling the edges of the lake bed. I'm not sure why. We made it to the base of the hill and killed our engines. The silence out there was nauseating. You could hear everything. The wind, insects, the sound of your breathing, and beneath it all, if you listened hard enough, there was the faint rhythmic pulse coming from somewhere underground. "We climb," Tyler said. "Leave the bikes here. They'll be fine." "And if they're not?" Danny asked. "Then we walk home." "Would you rather be on it when it gets swallowed?" Danny shook his head slowly. "Then come on." The climb was brutal. The hill wasn't that tall, maybe 100 up to 150 feet, but the terrain was all loose rock and brush, and we had to make the trip in the dark. Danny twisted his ankle about halfway up, stepping wrong on a rock that shifted under his weight. I could tell he thought it was the thing for a second, underground. He half screamed, but after Owen caught him mid-fall, he realized it was nothing. "I'm fine," Danny said through gritted teeth. "It's fine, just keep going." Keely scraped her palms raw on a fall near the top, caught herself on a jagged piece of rock. I could see blood on her hands in the moonlight, dark and shiny. But she didn't complain, just wiped it on her jeans and kept climbing. We made it to the ridge around midnight. I remember checking my watch, an old digital Casio my dad had bought me, and I saw the numbers glow in the dark. 12:07 a.m. Below us, the lake bed stretched out like a pale scar in the moonlight. From here I could see our vehicles at the base of the hill, 3 motionless silhouettes clustered together. I could see the hole where Owen's ATV had gone down, a dark pit maybe 200 yards from where we'd originally stopped. And I could see the ground moving. But there were 3 now, 3 separate ridges crisscrossing the lake bed in long sweeping arcs. They moved like sharks circling a raft, never getting too close to each other, but never straying too far from our abandoned bikes. "Oh, Christ," Danny whispered. "There's more than one?" Owen said. His voice was barely audible. "There's more than one of them." Nobody responded. Tyler pulled out his phone after a while. The screen lit up his face, made him look pale and ghostly. "1 bar," he said. "Weak, but it's there." "Call your parents," Keeley said. Tyler dialed. We all watched, holding our breath. He put the phone to his ear and waited. His expression didn't change. "Crap, voicemail," he said. He tried again. Same result. "They're asleep. Phones are probably in the kitchen. They do that." "Try mine," Owen said, and gave Tyler the number. Same thing. Voicemail. "Okay, our parents are in bed. That's normal. That's fine. Just call 911. Owen looked at me. "And what are we gonna say, man? There's a monster chasing us?" "Not necessarily. We tell them we're stranded. We tell them something is stalking us, a wild animal. They'll send someone. They have to." "They're gonna think we're pranking them." "You got a better idea?" Owen didn't. He took his phone from Tyler and stared at it. I think he was trying to figure out what to say without sounding crazy. Then he dialed. I couldn't hear the other end of the conversation, but I could hear Owen's side, and that was enough. "Hi, yes, I need help. We're stranded in the desert, outside of..." He looked at Tyler, who mouthed a location. He told them, then said, "We're on BLM land, a dry lake bed surrounded by a bunch of hills." A pause. "No, we're not injured. Not yet, but there's something out here, an animal. It's been stalking us." Another pause. Longer this time. "I don't know what kind. It's big. It moves underground like I don't know, like a really big snake. Maybe, but it's not a snake. It's been chasing us." I watched Owen's face as the dispatcher asked questions he couldn't answer. I could imagine. What does it look like? I don't know. How big is it? I don't know. Big enough to swallow an ATV. Is it venomous? How would I know that? "She's giving me advice," Owen said to us, covering the phone. "For predatory animals, make noise, make yourself look big, don't run." Danny rolled his eyes. "Does she have advice for something that hunts from underground? If not, maybe she's got a nice chili recipe we could try out." Owen didn't respond. He went back to the dispatcher. "We're on a ridge, a hill overlooking the lake bed. No, I don't know the exact coordinates. We drove about 40 minutes from... Yes, we'll stay on the line." He stayed on the line. We all sat there on the ridge, watching the things below circle our vehicles, listening to Owen murmur responses to questions that we couldn't hear. Questions that probably didn't matter. The dispatcher was trying to help. I'm sure she was doing everything by the book, but the book didn't have a chapter on this. They're sending someone," Owen said. "A unit to search the area. She says we should stay where we are." "How long?" Tyler asked. She doesn't know. They have to figure out where we are first. Yeah, she says if we stay on the line, she should be able to..." His phone died mid-sentence. The screen just went dark, and that was it. Our last connection to the outside world. Gone. Owen stared at the dead phone in his hand. Then he slowly put it back in his pocket and didn't say anything. We sat on the ridge until almost 2 in the morning. We were all too tired, too scared to talk. We just watched the lake bed, watching those things circling, hoping to see headlights on the access road soon. A police cruiser, a search party, anything. But nothing came. Around 1:30, the ridges in the earth stopped moving. One by one they went still, sinking back into the ground. The lake bed looked normal again, just flat, empty dirt under the stars. "Maybe they left," Danny said. "Maybe they're sleeping," Keely said. "Do they sleep?" Nobody knew. Tyler stood up. He'd been sitting on a rock staring out at the desert, and something in his posture looked different. He looked like he'd made up his mind about something. "We can't stay here," he said. "We've got no water, no way to call for help anymore, and no guarantee the cops are even going to find us. We've got to start moving." "Where?" I asked. "There's a tree line north of here. I saw it on the drive in, a stretch of woods, maybe a creek feeding it. And beyond the trees, there's a town. I saw the lights." "How far?" 3 miles, maybe a little more." 3 miles across open desert, with those things somewhere beneath us. "We'll never make it," Owen said. "We might not make it if we stay here either." Tyler looked at each of us in turn. "I'm not saying it's a good plan. I'm saying it's the only plan we've got. We move fast, we stay together, and we hope whatever's down there is sleeping or hunting something else." Danny laughed then. It wasn't a funny laugh, more like the sound you make when you've run out of other options. "All right," he said. "Let's go get eaten in the woods instead of the desert. At least there'll be shade." We climbed down the far side of the hill, away from the lake bed. The ground here was even harder, and hopefully that might make a difference. I didn't know if that mattered, though. Didn't know anything about those creatures or what they could swim through. But it made me feel slightly better, putting my feet on what felt like solid rock. We walked single file. Tyler in front, then Keely, then Danny limping on his bad ankle, then Owen, then me bringing up the rear. We moved as quietly as we could, placing our feet carefully, trying not to make vibrations. The first mile passed okay. The desert was eerily still. It was a windless night, so dang quiet. The moon had risen higher, casting everything in silver light. I could see the tree line ahead, so close yet so far. I was starting to think we might actually make it when Danny stepped on the wrong patch of ground. It looked the same as everything else, hard-packed dirt and rock scattered across it. But when Danny put his weight on it, his legs sank to the knee. Soft earth, hidden beneath a thin crust like ice over a pond. "Crap," Danny said, and the ground started to vibrate. "Run!" I'm not sure who shouted it. Maybe Tyler, could have been me even, but it didn't matter, because we all ran. I've never moved like that in my life. My legs were pumping like an Olympic runner, but my lungs could barely keep up. They were on fire in moments, and I could feel the earth trembling beneath my feet with every step. The vibration was getting stronger, getting closer, and I knew without looking, that something was coming behind us. Keely fell then. I saw her go down maybe 20 feet ahead of me. Her foot had caught on a rock, her body hitting the ground hard. Tyler was there in an instant, grabbing her arm, hauling her back up. She was bleeding from a cut on her forehead, but she didn't slow down. Owen tripped too. He went sprawling, and I grabbed the back of his shirt, pulling him forward, helping him to stay on his feet. I kept him moving. I could hear something behind us now, not just vibration, but movement. A mighty force pushing the earth aside, pushing up from below. I told myself over and over, don't look back, don't look back. I couldn't do it even if I wanted to. I knew that if I did, I would slow down, and if I slowed down, I'd die. The tree line was only 50 yards, 40, 30, and then the ground behind me erupted. I felt dirt hit my back, felt the spray of rocks and soil, and I heard a sound unlike anything I'd heard before. A moist, grinding roar that seemed to come from everywhere at once. 20 yards, 10. We hit the trees. I crashed through the underbrush, branches whipping my face and roots grabbing at my feet. I didn't stop though. I kept running, deeper into those woods, until my legs gave out and I collapsed against a tree trunk, gasping for air. The others were there too. Tyler and Keeley holding on to each other. Danny on his hands and knees, dry heaving. Owen was flat on his back, staring up at the canopy, his chest heaving. Behind us, at the edge of the woods, the rumbling stopped. I turned and looked back. Through the trees, I could see the desert we'd just crossed. The moonlight showed churned earth, a trail of destruction maybe 10 feet wide leading right up to the tree line. But it stopped right there. Whatever had been chasing us, it hadn't followed us into the woods. It can't. Danny was trying to catch his breath. It can't come in here. The trees, the roots, it can't burrow through. We're safe, Keeley said. She laughed, a high and shaky laugh. Oh my God, we're safe. Tyler didn't utter a word. He was still staring at the edge of the woods, unreadable. Come on, he finally said. The town's north of here, we gotta keep moving. We got up. It took a lot of effort. My whole body felt like it had been wrung out like a wet towel, but we got up. We started walking north, picking our way through the trees. It was harder to navigate in here, the moonlight filtering through the canopy in patches. But it was also quieter, calmer. The air smelled like pine trees and soil, wet soil. And for the first time in hours, I felt like I could breathe again. We'd been walking about 10 minutes when I heard something. Footsteps. It wasn't ours either. It was coming from something else, something heavy, crashing through the brush somewhere off to our left. I stopped. The others stopped too. What is that? Owen whispered. We listened. The footsteps were slow and uneven, not that steady gait of a walking animal, but like something stumbling along, something that wasn't used to moving that way. Maybe it's a deer, Danny said, or a bear. Do they have bears out here? That's no bear, Tyler said. The footsteps were getting closer, moving parallel to us, matching our pace. Whatever it was aware we were here. Then I saw it, through a gap in the trees, just for a second. A glimpse, but it was enough. Grayish white, pale, the color of something that had never seen sunlight. It was hunched over, about 7 feet tall when it was upright, but it wasn't upright. It was struggling, its limbs bent in ways that didn't look quite right, because they seemed to be designed for pushing, for burrowing, not for walking on the surface. Its body was segmented, kind of reminded me of a worm, but thicker, fatter, with limbs sprouting from the segments, 4 that I could see, maybe more. They ended in something like hands, but the fingers were too long and they curved inward like hooks. I didn't see its face. It then moved behind a tree and it was gone. Oh God, Keeley said. Oh God, it came out of the ground. It can walk, it can follow us. I was about to say she was wrong, that it had to be something else, but I'd seen enough of it to know that would be a lie. The thing from the desert was now in the woods with us. At least one of them was. And there was nowhere left to run. We all stopped moving, and we waited. We stood there in the dark, 5 terrified teenagers frozen between the trees, listening to the sound of something heavy moving through the woods, only about 30 yards away. The footsteps had stopped, but I could hear other sounds now. Cracking branches, undergrowth rustling, and a wet huffing noise that might have been breathing. "What do we do?" Owen's voice was barely audible. Tyler didn't say anything at first. He watched unblinkingly in the direction where we'd seen the thing. I could see him clenching his jaw over and over, and his hands were clenched into fists. I'd known Tyler since we were 11 years old, and this was the most fear I'd ever seen on him. He was truly and deeply scared. "We keep moving," he finally said, "north toward the town. We move quiet, but we move fast, and we don't stop for anything." "It's between us and the town," Keeley said. "Then we go around it." "And if there's more than one?" Tyler looked at her. In the dim light coming through the trees, I could see something pass between them, a silent communication that couples develop. "Then we deal with it when that happens," Tyler said. "But we can't stay here." He was right. Standing still was not an option. Whatever that thing was, it knew where we were. If we didn't move, it would eventually come to us. We started walking again, slower now, more careful. Tyler led us at an angle, veering east to put distance between us and where we'd seen the creature. The woods were thick here, lots of undergrowth, and every step seemed to make noise no matter how carefully we placed our feet. Danny was struggling. His twisted ankle had swollen up during our run from the desert, and now he could barely put weight on it. Owen and I took turns supporting him, one arm over our shoulders, helping him through the brush. It slowed us down, and I tried not to think about it too much. And the sounds, they followed us. Not constantly, there would be long stretches of silence where I'd start to hope we'd lost it. But then I'd hear it again, that heavy, uneven movement, somewhere off to our left, still parallel to our path. It was tracking us and keeping pace, and waiting for something. "Why isn't it attacking us?" Danny whispered during one of our brief stops. Even though it was so cold out, he was sweating. "If it wanted to kill us, it could have done it by now." "Maybe it's not sure," Keeley said. "Maybe it's never hunted above ground before. Maybe it doesn't know how." "Great. We're being stalked by a confused monster. That makes me feel so much better." "Shut up," Tyler said. "Both of you. Listen." We listened. The woods had gone quiet. The footsteps and rustling and breathing had all stopped. There was now only wind in the trees. No, there was a distant sound, something else. "Cars," Owen said. "I hear cars." He was right. Somewhere ahead of us, maybe half a mile, I could hear the hum of traffic on the road. And beyond that, if I squinted hard through the trees, I could see lights. Street lights, porch lights, the glow of a town. "We're close," Tyler said. "Come on, we're almost there." We pushed forward with renewed energy. Even Danny seemed to find some reserve of strength, hobbling faster, even though his ankle was in poor condition. The lights grew brighter through the trees. The sounds of cars grew louder. Civilization, safety. We were going to make it. We never saw it coming. The creature hit us from the right. One second we were walking. The next second, something massive crashed through the undergrowth and slammed into Tyler, sending him sprawling. Keeley screamed. Tyler hit the ground hard, rolling, and he came up swinging. but the thing was on top of him. I could see it now, really see it, and my brain couldn't process what it even was. It was truly pale, almost glowing in the dark kind of pale. Its skin was slick and glistening, like something that was never meant to see open air. The segments of its body pulsed and contracted as it moved, each one rippling independently, like the thing was made of dozens of smaller creatures fused together. Its limbs, I still counted 4, were nearly infinitely jointed, sickeningly flexing and bending. They ended in these thick hooked appendages. It was obviously designed for digging and for pulling things down into the dark. And its head, just a blunt mass at the front of its body, with a vertical split that opened and closed in a way that suggested a mouth. The slit was ringed with something that looked like teeth, but I don't think they were. They were moving like these rasping plates, like what you'd see on a lamprey, designed for grinding, for wearing away. That's what I saw in the half-second before Tyler kicked it in what I assumed was its head. From that angle, I didn't see its face. If it had one, that is. Only Tyler could see it. But at the time, I wasn't thinking about that. His boot connected with a wet thud against the creature's head, and the thing recoiled. I don't think it was hurt. It looked more surprised. It pulled back, limbs scrambling for purchase on the forest floor. Then Tyler was up and running before it could recover. "Go, go, go!" We ran. There was nothing else to do. Danny's ankle didn't matter anymore. The noise we made didn't matter either. We crashed through the woods like animals fleeing a forest fire. The creature came after us. I could hear its heavy, uneven gait, faster now, more confident. It was learning, adapting. Every second it spent above ground, it was getting better at moving through the environment. Then Owen went down. I saw him get his foot caught on something, and he pitched forward, arms pinwheeling. Then he was on the ground, and the creature was right there on top of him. I didn't think in that moment. I just acted. I grabbed a branch off the ground, some dead wood, maybe 3 feet long, and I swung it at the thing with everything I had. There was a thud. I felt the impact travel up my arms, and I felt the branch break and splinter. The creature made a sound, high-pitched, a sort of shriek, and it turned toward me. For one horrible second, I was face to face with it. That eyeless head, that grinding mouth, close enough that I could smell it. This rank mineral odor like wet clay and rotting meat. And now I was certain this thing just didn't have a face. Then Tyler was there, grabbing Owen, hauling him up. Danny was there too, throwing rocks, anything he could find. Keely was screaming at me to run. And so I ran. We burst out of the tree line, and suddenly there was open ground ahead of us. A grassy slope leading down to a road, streetlights, houses, a gas station with its lights still on. The town. We'd made it to the town. I risked a look back. The creature was at the edge of the woods. It had stopped there, its body partially hidden by the trees, that eyeless head turning back and forth like it was sensing us, or something else. Maybe the streetlights, or the sounds of cars and the presence of people. It didn't follow us into the open. I don't know why. Could have been the light or the hard pavement. Nothing to burrow into, nowhere to retreat. Maybe it just knew on some instinctual level that this was not its territory. Whatever the reason, it stayed at the tree line and watched us without eyes. Its mouth opened and closed repeatedly, grinding plates catching the distant light. Eventually it turned and disappeared back into the woods. We did not stop running until we reached the first building we could find. It was an apartment complex, 2 stories, maybe 20 units. One of those cheap stucco buildings you see all over Southern California. There was a light on in one of the ground floor units. and Tyler ran straight to the door, starting to pound on it. "Hello? Please, we need some help. Please open the door." For a terrible moment, I didn't think anyone would come. I thought maybe whoever lived there was going to ignore us, pretend they hadn't heard, and we'd be stuck out here in the open, with that thing still somewhere in the woods behind us, still unsure if it could follow us out. But then the door opened. A woman stood there in a bathrobe, maybe 45 or 50 years old. She had curlers in her hair and a cordless phone in her hand. She was looking at us like we were aliens who had just landed on her doorstep. Which in a way, I guess we were. "Please," Keely said. She was crying, tears cutting tracks through the dirt and blood on her face. "Please help us. Something's chasing us. We need to call the police." The woman looked at Keely, then at the rest of us. 5 filthy, bleeding, terrified teens standing on her welcome mat at 4 a.m. I'm not sure what she saw on our faces, but whatever it was enough. "Come on, get inside," she said. "All of you, right now." We went inside. Her name was Barbara. She had a husband who slept through the whole thing, snoring in the back bedroom, never even woke up, and a cat that hissed at us from under the couch. She set us down in her living room, brought water, and called 911 while we tried to stop shaking. I remember sitting on that couch, looking at Barbara's family photos on the wall, her normal furniture, her normal life, feeling like I'd stepped through a portal from another dimension. Just an hour ago, I'd been running for my life from some sort of real-life monster. Now I was sitting in some stranger's living room, drinking water from a glass with cartoon lemons on it, waiting for the police to arrive. The cops came about 20 minutes later. 2 of them, a man and a woman, both looking very tired and skeptical. They took our statements separately, asking us to describe what happened. I told them a version of the truth. We'd been night riding, I admitted that part, figured there was no point in lying about it, and something had chased us. An animal, some kind of predator. We'd gotten lost, ran through the woods, and ended up here. The female officer asked me what kind of animal. I said I didn't really know, but I did know it was big and fast. She wrote it down without comment. I could tell she didn't entirely believe my story, but I also could tell she wasn't going to push it. We were clearly traumatized, and it was clear something had happened. But the details didn't add up, and she knew it. They drove us home. All of us piled into the back of a patrol car, squeezed together like sardines, too exhausted to care about the discomfort. It was almost 6 a.m. by the time they dropped me off at my home. My parents were awake. They'd gotten a call from the police, and they were waiting on the porch when the cruiser pulled up. My mom hugged me so hard, I thought she might crack a rib. My dad just stood there looking at me. I'd seen that look before. Relief, and also plenty of anger mixed together. I told them the story I told the cops. An animal attack, we got lost, we made it to a town. And their reaction was similar. They didn't fully believe me. But also they were too happy to have me home to press for more details. I slept for 14 hours straight, and they let me. The next day, a search was conducted. They found Tyler's truck right where we'd left it, at the gap in the hills near the lake bed. The dirt bikes were still there, and the ATVs were recovered except for Owen's, which was never found. The official report said it had probably fallen into a sinkhole, which was not uncommon in that area. The holes in the lake bed were documented. 3 of them, the report said. Subsidence events caused by underground erosion, possibly an old aquifer that had collapsed. A natural phenomenon, nothing unusual. No animal was found, no tracks even. no evidence from out of the ordinary. Case closed, I guess. Our friends and I, after a few months' break, continued our nighttime hijinks, but we never went back or anywhere near that lake bed. We went to new, different places we knew were safe. But a few months after that, well, something happened. It wasn't as major as the story I just told you, but I feel I should mention it. I was driving home from work, a late night shift, nearly midnight. I was on a stretch of highway that cuts through empty desert. Nothing around for miles, just sand and the occasional cactus. But my car, it started to vibrate. And it wasn't from the engine or the tires or the road. The whole car was shaking slightly, like I was driving over a series of small bumps, but different, deeper down. However, the road I was on was smooth. I could see it in my headlights, flat, perfect asphalt. Then I looked in my rearview mirror. Behind me, about 100 yards back, the ground was moving, a ridge of displaced earth traveling alongside the highway, keeping pace with my car. The trauma came back up. I floored it. I'm not sure how fast I went, 90, maybe even 100, fast enough that the steering wheel was shaking in my hands. One wrong move would have sent me spinning off the road. The ridge kept pace for about 30 seconds, then it veered off, disappearing into the darkness. It was gone. I didn't slow down until I was back in the city, but I didn't stop trembling then. I parked in my driveway, sitting in my car with the engine off, just trying to steady my breathing. I kept this event to myself because I didn't want to scare my friends. By then, the events of that night had become a distant enough memory that we could all almost claim it was just a shared nightmare. If I told them about this, it would make it real again. So I kept it private. Now, it's been 12 years, and I'll never forget about that lake bed. When I was a kid, I remember playing Lava Monster or Tremors, based on the movie with Kevin Bacon, where we would run and jump around on playground equipment or trees, and you could not touch the ground because the person who was it would get you. Now, I don't know about playing that game for real. I'm not too good at climbing anymore, or running for that matter. Good night. This has been Unexplained Encounters. I'm your host, Darkness Prevails. For more scary stories like this, check out my podcast, Tales from the Break Room, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app. If you have a scary story to share, send it to me at darkstories.org. If you're listening on the podcast, this episode should release on Christmas Eve. In that case, Merry Christmas to you all. I hope you get everything you want, and you have a great, warm time. Till next time, everyone, stay safe out there, and stay creepy, because this world is a strange one.